Hello, everybody. It's Vlad Blagovic here, and welcome back to the Full Funnel B2B Marketing Show. And today's guest is Shelby Torrence. She's the head of marketing at Deliverect. And Deliverect is a SaaS company that simplifies order management for food outlets and restaurants. Shelby, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I know this is maybe not exactly what you do at Deliverect, but I was looking at your background and your profile. I know you work with a lot of enterprise sales, in a lot of enterprise sales roles, while as a marketer, then on the marketing side. And, the reason that I wanted to kind of explore this is because a lot of our listeners are in that space, in complex, long sales cycles, multiple buyers, complex buying committees and stuff like that. And, I was wondering, when you're in that kind of marketing role, I wonder, what is, from your perspective, a role of marketing in account and buyer research? And how do you kind of personalize, the messaging, the content you're using to both the target accounts and also to the buyers, to the different buyers in the buying committee?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not a simple answer. It depends, of course. I think most of us in marketing now really understand the importance of understanding and focusing in on your buyer, and that you can't have the same message for everyone. The challenge is that people don't fit in simple buckets. So it's not as simple as saying, I target CIOs and all CIOs care about XYZ. It's not even as simple as saying in Spain, they care about this, and in the UK, they care about this. People are much more complex. And that makes the job of marketeers very complex. We have to really understand buyers. It's not as simple as doing, a simple buyer persona interview with 15 or 20 and developing that. You have to continuously do research. So I think we have to take every opportunity that we have when we're at events, for example. Whenever we're engaging with our customers, we should always sort of be conducting research, adding to our research, looking at how things are changing as we go. This is something actually someone on our team put together a survey to give to all of our teams when we're at events. So to our sales team, to our product managers, and just ask them, hey guys, you're attending sessions, you're talking to potential buyers, you're talking to our current customers who come by and visit us at events. What are you hearing them talk about? How is what you're hearing now different from what you heard 6 months ago? And we're going through and doing a review of our content and looking at that with fresh eyes. We're trying to do this more or less kind of quarterly. So doing it continuously sometimes is a bit much because it might mean you're pivoting, but we're trying to do this on a quarterly basis so that as we're building our quarterly plans, we're looking at the research that we've been conducting, what we've been hearing, and adjusting our plans based on that.
All right. So you have kind of an ongoing process to survey and interview your customers and other types of buyers. I like that you're doing that specifically also on events. That's a great opportunity. And then you're collecting those insights and basically reviewing your content. And I assume maybe tweaking the content as the market is evolving, and maybe also identify, okay, we are missing some, key pieces of content. Do I understand correctly?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, good. And so if I look at, the different types of content that you have and having the different types of buyers, what are and I mean different roles in the buying committee, etc. Where did you find what types of content that you need to review the most, or personalize the most, or change the most? Is it more like top of funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel? Where do you have to do the most change in personalization?
It's a good question. I think the top of funnel is probably the hardest to do this for because you don't know as much. Once you get more into the middle of your funnel, of course, your sales team can help you with that as well. So it's almost like giving a bit of templated information that can be customized. Similarly, if you're targeting really large accounts, you're doing account-based marketing, you're probably doing very deep research into those. And so you have more information to tailor. But I think top of funnel is where it gets to be a lot more challenging, because again, you can't assume that because someone has a certain job title that they're necessarily interested in a particular piece of content. So some of it is a little of self-selection, of understanding, trying to give people multiple options, trying to build across your social channels, at events and things like that. I mean, you tailor the content sort of sometimes to where you're meeting people. If you're meeting them at the event, what is the key messages at the event? Things like that. But I try to give people more options and let them self-select what's most interesting for them.
And when you're looking at the different buyer personas, I wonder, like, how do you address the blockers? Like, like people who might be like resisting or trying to block the deal inside of the target account.
Yeah, it's all, the question a lot of times comes down to, why are they blocking? Some people are blocking for very logical reasons. It could be related to finance. It could be related to the amount of effort. And at my current role, we're marketing to restaurants, and restaurants we're selling technology basically to people who don't care about technology. They care about running their business. So the blockers a lot of time have to deal with, is this making my life easier? Are you going to do what you promised that you're going to do? And I think particularly now, because with technology, I think a lot of times it starts to sound alike to the buyers. Like, to those of us who are marketing and selling it, we know the unique value proposition. But I think I can understand that for buyers, and particularly those who are not deep into technology, it sounds like, okay, how do I know what you're going to do? You're really going to deliver on what you're saying. And I think a lot of the objections tend to come from that is, yes, everybody says they're going to make, things easier for me. How do I know you're really going to do that? And then you have some people who are resistant to change. They just, yes, maybe it's more difficult the way I do things now, but I know what the difficulties are, and I don't have the time or energy to put into learning something new. In both cases, I think what I typically find works best is customer stories. We are really lucky at Deliverect because we're selling to restaurants who have amazing stories. And we have those restaurants share their stories because they understand the struggles. They've had the struggles. Also, it gets over that jadedness, right? Because us talking about how great we are is, not that interesting, but actually customers talking about what we've been able to do for them is far more interesting to a restaurant operator.
I love it. So you're relying a lot on word of mouth and customer stories. And I wonder, like, again, like practically, how do you organize it? Like from selecting the customers, and how did incentivize them to maybe share their stories or maybe participate? I assume maybe sometimes in some events or other marketing activities. How do you basically turn them into ambassadors, I wonder?
It's very much a team effort. I mean, we have an amazing team, our support team, our customer success, our sales team, and our executive team. We're really passionate and we care about restaurants. And I think because of that, they become passionate about what we do as well. And when they're happy with our solution, they care about other restaurants as well. That's one thing that's nice about restaurants. They're not super competitive with each other. It's a really wonderful community where they like to share. But yeah, so our customer success team, our sales team, they're really good at kind of coming to the marketing team saying, hey, we've got this great customer. It's a really wonderful story. It's a husband and wife who started a business, or it's, a daughter who's taken over from her father, and just really looking at these amazing stories and coming to us and saying, can we put together a story? And for the marketing team, I mean, we've never said no. We always, every customer who wants to tell their story, we want to be able to help them tell it.
Okay, that's simple enough. And I think you took this kind of on to the next level with one of the initiatives. I really found this a lot of fun. So Was it the hidden gems, I think, right?
Yes. Yes, we ran a contest. It's actually going to be annual, so we'll be doing it again the coming year. But yes, our executive team, we went through our funding round, and our executive team wanted to do something kind of as giving back to restaurants. And so they kind of just came to me with this idea as, hey, let's do something to give back. And I thought, okay, let me think about what we can do. So we put together this contest around hidden gems. So one of the things I really love about working at Deliverect, and one of the reasons I came here, and honestly, most of our team, we're all foodies. We love food, we're passionate about it. And I love the fact that if you look at delivery 4 or 5 years ago, it was like burgers and fries, right? But if you look at delivery now, there's tons of different foods that you can get delivered. And so hidden gems was the idea of, let's try to highlight all the different types of foods that you can get delivered. So we had this global competition, and the winner got 50,000 euros. We had 4 or 5 runner-ups. So this was a chance to highlight all the different types of dishes that you can get. And actually, it was real. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. We had customers in places I didn't know. I think in the top 5, we had one that was in Nairobi, another one in Tijuana. So we had customers in locations, I had no idea we actually were running business there. Although that's the nice thing of a SaaS solution, right? Anyone in the end, anywhere can access it. But, and they had the most amazing stories behind growing their business and why they started it and what they were planning to do with the money. So it was for us a really nice effort to work with our, restaurant community. They got excited about it, and we're trying to drive voting, and yeah, it was exciting. So we've decided we should make this an annual competition.
I love it. It sounds like a lot of fun. And like you say, it's in a way not only helping you kind of get the word out, but I think also helping the restaurants, not just with the awards, but also create the awareness of, hey, by the way, it's not just pizza or whatever that you can order, but actually all this amazing, different amazing food. So kind of made a bigger impact on let's say the world right now, at
Yeah,
least on the foodies amongst us.
yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned that you have customers all over the world, and I think you mentioned to me something like 30 different markets, and even having staff in like 12, right? 12 countries. So I wonder, like, how do you organize that? Like, how do you, let's start with something concrete, like how do you distribute the budget between all these locations?
Yes, it's a good question, because we do, of course, have regions that are very passionate. The way we sort of do it, or the way we're doing it for the coming year, as a scale up, the way we've done it up to now probably is not as organized, but as we're going into next year, we're looking at a division between global and regions. And we're looking at what basically we kind of expect the business to generate, but also looking at some of those differences. Like if a region, for instance, it needs to localize, then it would get a bit more budget. If it's not in English and it has to take everything that we do and change to a different language. If it's a newer region, then it would get a bit more budget. So we try to we also look at from a global perspective, like there are markets where the global team can do a lot to help that market generate business. And there are other markets that are very different, maybe because restaurants are less tech savvy, maybe because there's less awareness. There are lots of different reasons why, but there are probably markets where the regional team, for whatever reasons, has to do a lot more work. And so we try to take that into consideration. So it's a little bit, it's not exactly scientific, but it's a little bit, it is transparent. I'll say that. There's no secrets. We're quite clear with everyone, so they have an idea of why the decisions have been made. And in general, we are a very performance driven organization. So we look at, yes, if like we're still a scale up. So we're not giving someone a budget and saying that's your budget for the year. It is kind of looking at, hey, what's working, what's not. If you get midway through the year and something is changing, then of course we can adapt to that. We're also, as much as we're performance driven, we like to do fun, creative stuff like hidden gems. So I try to talk to my team about, hey guys, if you want to do something that you think is really fun, then just go ahead, just propose it. Not everything has to be about driving results. We're still trying to build the brand. We're still trying to help people understand what we do. So come up with your ideas, come up with your wild ideas. And sometimes we have meetings where we just go, all right, whoever comes up with the wildest idea, just go at it and see what we can come up with. So we try to have that balance of being, pragmatic and making sure that we're driving results and helping the business grow, but also being a marketing team that can do fun stuff and be really creative and not feel locked into a set approach.
All right, I like that. And you're supporting them obviously with budget, but I'm sure that you're supporting the local teams in other ways. And I was just like wondering, like on the one hand, like how does a global team support the local teams, and like what are also some pitfalls in trying to translate the approach maybe from one market to another market, because I'm sure it's not just about languages.
No, definitely not. So I'll start with the first part of that question. Our global team is in a sense in region, because we don't have a situation where our global team sits in one office together in one country and only focuses on that country. Our global team is across Belgium, the Netherlands, the US, Canada, Spain as well. So, and we spend a lot of time in region. So we make sure that we're spending time with our team in Dubai, for example, or our team in Mexico City. So our global team quite often is jumping in. And again, part of this is being a scale up, because we have to help the region still. We don't have massive teams for each country, but it also is a very good learning experience for us. So we're constantly out there and we get a chance to see firsthand how things are working. And it is sort of, making sure the rubber hits the road. And yes, we can create lots of great campaigns, but we have to go out and actually help the regional teams make sure that they're working.
And then it was like taking ideas from one region to the other, approaches that work somewhere, but can you just like go ahead and just translate the campaigns as such, or like what are some of the pitfalls that you see in moving from one region to the other?
Yes, that's something we still honestly struggle with a little bit. I think people tend to think that localizing is quite simple. And it even happens now when we go into a new region, they'll sort of say, oh, we've got a salesperson, or we've got a customer success person, or we've got, someone who speaks the language. And it's like, no, translation or localizing is much more complex. And I think we've learned at this point that you need to have a content expert that really not only knows the language, but knows the business and how it works in that region. And we give our teams flexibility. I mean, we always sort of say, hey, you understand what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. You don't have to do it exactly the same way. So we're always, I mean, I guess most companies struggle with that. We want to have a global brand. We want to help build it, but you can't build it exactly the same way. And again, it goes back to buyers being so diverse and so different. You can't put them in buckets. So the same way, you can't just take a program and move it from one location to the other just by changing the language. You have to really understand what's being accomplished. And truthfully, sometimes you have to go, you know what, that certain campaigns just won't work in certain regions. We also try to make sure we're not just giving the regional teams things. As you said, it's sometimes the regions are coming up with something. We see what they come up with, and then we discuss, hey, is that something we should try in a different region? Let's see how it works. So we try to do a lot of experimentation and testing and seeing if things work. And yeah, fortunately, it is an environment where it's easy to just say, hey, we tried that, guys. It didn't work. Now we know.
All right. And you mentioned a couple of times you're a scale up. And I think when you joined back at the beginning of the year to now, your team more than doubled, and you're looking to again double it, right? So
yeah, it's true. I think I was the 5th person on the marketing team when I started in January. We are now 13. And I believe we have 25 roles opened right now. So we're more than doubling and trying to get those roles. So if anyone's listening and looking for a marketing role, check out Deliverect. careers, because we have, and it's a wide variety of roles across content, digital, product marketing, customer marketing. So yes, it's a very fast growth.
Sounds like a really, really interesting place to work at. Definitely at the end, maybe you can also share where people can reach out to you and find you. We'll definitely also paste some of the links in the description here. And I wonder, like, growing this fast, and it's complex because you have these different functions, you have these different regions, you're growing really fast. So I wonder, like, how do you systemize this chaos? Like, how do you, let's just say practically, how do you document successful playbooks and onboard new team members? How does that work at Deliverect?
It's a good question, and it's one I've just started to tackle well with 25 roles coming in, because from going from 5 to 13, it wasn't as structured maybe and streamlined. It was more, okay, someone new comes on. Organizational wise, across Deliverect, we actually have a really great onboarding team. So they take new hires through getting to know the business in general. They have a co-pilot when they start. So for us, it was more, okay, this person's been onboarded. How do we get them up and running with our systems? And it was a lot of buddy system. It was a lot of, okay, I'll show you how I'm working, sit in and listen to a demo with the sales team. Hey, let's sit together and I'll get you set up on HubSpot. Over the last month or two, we started going, maybe we should record these training sessions so we don't have to do them live each time. And now we've actually just designated someone to focus on playbooks, on training for new employees, on making sure that we have this documented for the 25 that we'll be hiring. But we also want to make sure, like, for instance, that we allow new hires to shadow a colleague. So whether that means traveling, if we hire someone in Spain and having them go to France and spend a week with a colleague. So it's sort of getting that balance of, yes, we want to make sure we've got the right material. We want to make sure people know where to find things. I tend to find that that's kind of the hardest thing for new hires. They feel like they're asking a lot of questions. And we always love it. We expect them to ask questions. But I think for new hires, they always feel like, okay, I want to, I don't know if I'm asking the right person. I don't want to ask in an open channel because I don't know if this is a silly question. So we're making sure they've got someone designated to ask questions to, so they can feel really comfortable that they have the information, but also so they can spend time with colleagues and see how the job is done. And then, go back and sort of adapt it to what they think makes sense for their markets.
Talked about it earlier, about, you mentioned it now again, how important for you is to have your marketers, everybody in marketing, be in touch with customers. And you mentioned, events, you mentioned listening into sales calls. Is that part of onboarding? Like, how do you structure or how do you make sure that the new and marketers, but also the existing ones who are there in the role, actually do this relatively regularly?
So yes, we as company-wide, it's part of our policy to have new employees sit in on demos, sit in on with the customer success team when they're onboarding a new customer. Then within marketing, we usually will do, like we went through over the summer, for instance, making sure everyone in marketing could give the demo. So it's like, yes, it's the sales team's job to give the demo, but we should be able to also give it if we need to, if we're at an event, if we're talking to someone, but we should know our product well enough to give the demo. I haven't yet asked them to onboard anyone, but that might be the next step in the process. So yes, we always make sure that they've gone through that process, but we also spend a lot of time with our customers. So we're filming customer videos. A lot of times we're on site. We get to go into the customer locations to actually see how it works. And again, it's kind of a nice benefit because our customers are restaurants. We tend to eat at our customer restaurants. So we go in and we actually go, hey, I'm with Deliverect, how's everything working? What do you guys think? So we actually were talking about making sure it's something we do if we go somewhere, we're like, oh, we're in a new city. Let's figure out which customers we have in the city. and we either order for them or go have dinner at their location. So fortunately, it is a business that really lends itself to us spending time and really getting to know our customers well. And again, the customers love it. They're good at giving us feedback, good or bad, and telling us, hey, we love this, or hey, when are you guys going to work on improving something? So we get a lot of feedback from customers, and yeah, it's great.
People, did you hear that? If you come work for Deliverect, you get to go to visit cool restaurants as part of your job.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. And I think the kind of also trying to reverse the story, because we talked a lot about marketing to buyers, but you're also a buyer occasionally, being the marketing head of marketing, acquiring, for example, marketing technology that you use internally. And I just wanted to maybe wrap up this great conversation we had with that perspective. So as a buyer of maybe like expensive, complex products that have to be implemented with a lot of people inside your company, just in general, like how do you generally, let's say you have a need, and so how do you go about researching, discovering new solutions and evaluating them?
It's a good question. I do end up buying quite a lot in a variety of different scenarios, whether it's looking for, automation platforms to help us be more productive, or it's looking at new agencies, PR agencies, digital agencies. So I think like most people, you try to rely first on your network. You get an idea. Does anyone have experience? What do you guys think? I also use a lot the comparison platforms. So I use those quite often, actually, if I'm looking for, Capterra, G2. If I'm looking at platforms, I tend to like to look at, okay, this is what I need. What is the comparison? What are other people saying out there? So yeah, those kind of are sort of the two, either people I know who can tell me what they think, or looking at the comparison platforms to see what works.
Not because somebody cold emailed you.
No, I have to be honest, I'm a little brutal with with cold emails. I'm a bit more understanding and open if someone has taken the time. But yeah, I mean, I think with most people who get, a lot of cold emails, you sort of know them, after looking at it for half a second. They sort of try to sound like they know you, but they don't really know anything about you. And you get all the LinkedIn requests and you get a lot of emails, and it's always really clear that they don't really know anything about your business. So every once in a while, I get someone who does a bit more research. They clearly have looked into understanding our business a bit better. And I have to say, I will give those a little bit more time. If someone has kind of done a little bit of work to say, all right, I know Deliverect had a round of funding 6 months ago. Oh, or I see you've got lots of roles open. Then, I'll put a little bit more time into saying, okay, let me take a look at this. But I have to say, that's probably less than 5% of the requests.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, it almost never happens. Yeah. You immediately see that you see them coming. It's very generic, sometimes completely misses the mark. Yeah. Did you hear that? So personalize, that's what we keep saying. And once you get into a conversation, so you're at a later stage, you're getting in a conversation with potential vendors, whether that's an agency or a marketing tool. So how do you, like, what is important for you? Like, what are some of the criteria that you use at a later stage to evaluate whether they're a good fit, whether, you want to work with them?
I think someone who feels transparent, they're honest about what they can and cannot do. I think that's always important. Same thing with platforms, trying to really pinpoint what is it you're really going to do for the business, and does it fit with what I'm looking for? I think also making sure, so we always try, or I do try to make sure we're looking at the future of the business. because it is whatever tools, whatever platforms you're bringing in, or if it's an agency, it takes time to develop and build those relationships. So I look at how well is this going to work for our business over the next 3 or 4 years. So I try to invest in solutions that really are going to help us as we scale and get to the next few levels, and not something that is just going to work for us for the next 6 months.
All right. So actually on the other, if we flip that over, they should definitely be asking you these questions, understanding what the next phases and steps are, so that they can help you understand this this one. Okay, I like that. Very practical.
Yeah, and I have to say, one of the things that always impresses me is if someone asks me a question I hadn't thought of. So sometimes that is always good, is when they're trying to probe and understand your business. If I get a question and I'm like, I haven't yet considered that. That for me is a good sign that they understand really, even in some cases better than I do. So they're bringing something strong to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I had also a lot of experiences where you're there and you feel like they're running through a script and they kind of ask you a few questions, but it's like generic questions. And it's almost as if they can't wait to get to that demo. But I always think, like, how can you give me a compelling demo if you don't really know what I'm looking for, if you didn't take the time to really understand that? So
Right.
definitely very important.
Yes. Or if you're just trying to qualify to see how much money I'll spend.
Oh yeah, I know.
I'd rather you be honest with me and just show me the demo rather than saying, oh, I'm trying to understand your needs, but really you're just trying to understand how much money I'm capable of spending.
I know. Especially if you have first a call with somebody who is qualifying you to then pass you to an account executive who asks you all the same questions. Like that's not a nice sales experience.
No,
awesome. I mean, I know we could be chatting a lot more about all these things. You have a very interesting situation there with all the countries, with wonderful customers. I love what you guys are doing. And so if people want to know more and continue the conversation, what is the best way to get in touch with you and to learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so of course you can reach out to me personally on LinkedIn and Twitter. I do answer LinkedIn's if they're personalized. So yeah, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and on our website you can find the jobs we have listed. So it's deliverect.com and our careers page.
All right, I will be pasting those links, and I can verify that she does respond to LinkedIn. She did respond to me. So here we are. Thank you very much, Shelby. This was a very nice talk.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.